Hey class, I'm Blake Foster, and this is why the field of humanistic psychology is the most relevant to Hollywood. The reason why I think this is because movies and shows often serve as a sort of odyssey. As the characters are set on the hero's journey, they encounter troubles and truths relevant to the viewer, and in seeing these characters self actualize, we feel fulfilled ourselves. For these reasons, I would make a show surrounding a group of friends and their trials and tribulations on the road to self actualization. There's an existing basis for the appeal of this format, beginning with Seinfeld and graduating into shows such as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Entourage, Stranger Things, and The Good Place. This can be further dissected through themes like adolescence, love, fulfillment, and self recognition. One of the most powerful elements of these shows is that the groups have their own lingo, customs, and collective identities. In being a fan of the show, you've associated and essentially placed yourself within the group. You've been along for the ride on all of their adventures, and after 5 seasons, you've grown alongside them. The strongest hook of the friend group strategy is that the fan base is the manifestation of the characters. The fans are the friend group, and the only price of admission is knowing all the verbiage and catchphrases. This phenomenon is widespread, and I think best articulated by the extremes, where the fan base is often hated for being an unequivocally cringe manifestation of what once was a good thing. Rick and Morty articulates this point nicely, where saying you like the show essentially necessitates clarifying you hate the fans. I've selected some movies that attract you with humanistic psychology. Good Will Hunting, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Whiplash all come to mind. Whiplash offers a more professional interpretation of self actualization and the difficulties therein. Whiplash is the story of a drumming student, played by Miles Teller, with a vision of becoming the best. He almost immediately loses a grip of his surroundings and allows his ego to take over, callously leaving his girlfriend because anything that doesn't advance his drumming is no longer valuable. Whiplash articulates the sacrifices necessary to achieve actualization while contrasting his successes with the prices paid. To become the best drummer he could be, he not only had to leave someone behind, but he also had to attach himself to a teacher he despised. It shows the difficulty of achieving actualization, and that once Miles achieved his initial goal, he realizes it came at the cost of being a complete or genuinely actualized person. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind exemplifies attracting viewers via humanistic psychology by analyzing the often conflicting emotions surrounding love and relationships. The movie begins with Jim Carrey paying for an experimental service which claims to erase all memories associated with a person. Right off the bat, the viewer is thrust into the hypothetical, I wish I never met you. Everyone has felt this way at some point in their life. However, even in brutal bouts of frustration, we intuitively understand that humans aren't designed to run from their emotions. Hiding from your emotions is as effective as trying to cover your shadow. Although you're not enslaved to them, they can't be neglected completely. Living dishonestly can only ever lead to collapse or the necessary realization that a stab wound needs more than a band-aid. What's so humanistically appealing about this movie is that it offers a tale of self-actualization through the experience of someone taking the easy way out. Joel, played by Jim Carrey, is effectively paying someone to erase his heartbreak instead of conquering it himself and learning something in the process. The viewer automatically understands the disastrous consequences this will have, and in seeing Joel struggle, they perhaps recognize the pitfalls of taking certain shortcuts. The movie's title comes from a poem by Alexander Pope, and the stanza in question goes, How happy is the blameless vestal's lot, the world forgetting by the world forgot. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, each prayer accepted and each wish resigned. As with all great poetry, it's not immediately clear what the meaning is, especially without context. The poem is about the exchange of letters between Heloise and Abelard, former lovers who've coped or reconciled in each other's absence. The first line refers to Heloise being sent to a nunnery, where she's cut off from the world and blissfully ignorant. The second line expands on this by saying the Vestals, or nuns, forget and are forgotten by the world, essentially that the lovers don't need to consider each other. The third line holds the title of the film and ascertains that a dissociation from the past creates a happiness equivalent to that of an eternal sunshine. Although ignorance is bliss, it's flavorless. There's neither laughter nor anxiety. None of the things that make life exciting or challenging are present, and thus a dull reality is created where emotion is blunted and baby-gated to the point of nothingness. However, the last line is Heloise coming to accept the decision she'd made in praying to erase her memories. having realized his love was impure and selfishly motivated. The wish resigned was the love she still held for him, albeit against her better judgment, and the prayer fulfilled was the erasure of her memory. I think the question mark is left at the end to serve as the ambiguous nature of decision making, and that you'll never know if you truly made the right decision and are burdened with the matter of choice. And lastly, I'd like to look at Good Will Hunting, which is about a boy with genius IQ who works as a janitor at MIT, where his potential is uncovered by a professor of mathematics and nurtured by a therapist at a local community college. The film sees the process of self-actualization on behalf of Will, and throughout the movie, you can see how the motivations of others are projected onto him. The professor wishes for him to pursue a career in academia, and places all of Will's value on his potential, as opposed to what he actually desires. Will is comfortable underachieving because the companionship of his friends compensates for the abusive childhood he endured in various foster homes. Will has to uncover what drives him, and ultimately confront the emotional and literal scar tissue he habitually covered up. It isn't until he falls in love that he's forced to confront the trauma he'd so efficiently swept under the rug. Movies are simply a format of storytelling, and storytelling is often obsessed with actualization and fulfillment. A lens of humanistic psychology helps us understand how viewers empathize, identify, and come to learn from these movies. In Whiplash, we see the price of success. In Eternal Sunshine, the toll on shortcuts. And in Good Will Hunting, the path of self-recognition. Each story is thematically tied to components of humanistic psychology, and couldn't be understood without it. In traversing these themes, the audience is taken along as a passenger, where, in perfectly humanistic fashion, they're positioned to learn from these characters, or simply enjoy the ride. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you learned something.